Understanding the special intensive revision, sir, of electoral rolls that's currently underway across India. What documents prove your citizenship? Why is sir creating nationwide controversy? Consumer Times breaks down everything you need to know about this historic voter verification exercise and its impact on your fundamental right to vote. Hello and welcome to Consumer Times. I'm your name, and today we are discussing a topic that affects every Indian citizen's most fundamental democratic right, the right to vote. The Election Commission of India has launched a massive exercise called Special Intensive Revision, or SIR, of electoral rolls across multiple states. This exercise has sparked nationwide debate, Supreme Court challenges, and raised critical questions about citizenship proof. So let's understand what SIR really is, why it matters, and most importantly, how it affects you. Special Intensive Revision, abbreviated as SIR, is an exercise undertaken by the Election Commission of India to thoroughly update, verify, and correct voter lists across the country. Now, you might wonder, doesn't the Election Commission already update voter lists regularly? Yes, they do conduct summary revisions annually. However, SIR is fundamentally different and far more comprehensive. While regular revisions involve adding new voters who've turned 18, deleting deceased persons, or correcting minor errors, SIR is essentially a complete house-to-house verification drive. Think of it as the difference between routine maintenance and a complete overhaul. The Election Commission first ordered SIR for Bihar in June this year, and on October 27, extended it to 12 more states and union territories including West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam, and Puducherry. The SIR was announced on October 27, 2025, by Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar and covers approximately 51 crore electors across 321 districts and 1843 assembly constituencies. The final electoral roll is scheduled for publication on February 7, 2026. The Election Commission derives its power to conduct SIR from Article 324 of the Constitution and Section 21(3) of the Representation of the People Act, 1951. These provisions empower the Commission to revise electoral rolls without requiring prior permission from any authority. Historically, intensive revisions have been carried out 13 times since independence, with the last major exercise conducted between 2002 and 2004. However, what makes the current SIR unprecedented is its scope, timing, and most controversially, the documentary requirements it imposes on voters. This is where the citizenship question becomes central to the entire debate. Here's where things get complicated and controversial. For the Bihar SIR, the Election Commission initially specified 11 documents that voters must produce to prove their eligibility. After Supreme Court intervention, Aadhaar was added as the 12th document. But here's the catch that has created nationwide anxiety. Commonly used documents like voter identity cards, ration cards, driving licenses, and PAN cards were excluded from this list. Let me explain why this exclusion is significant. The Election Commission argued that PAN cards are issued by the Income Tax Department for tracking financial transactions, and even foreign nationals can obtain PAN cards with valid visas. Similarly, ration cards are welfare documents issued under the public distribution system for subsidized essentials, not citizenship verification. Driving licenses are issued based on residency rather than citizenship. So what documents does the Election Commission accept? Based on the current guidelines, here's the complete list. First, a passport issued by the Government of India. This is considered one of the strongest proofs. Second, a birth certificate issued by a competent authority. Third, educational certificates like matriculation or higher secondary certificates showing Indian origin. Fourth, a certificate of Indian origin or nationality certificate issued by relevant authorities. Fifth, permanent residence certificates issued by state authorities. 6th, domicile certificates from competent state authorities. 7th, identity cards or certificates issued by government departments, local authorities, banks, post offices, LIC, or public sector in the takings prior to July 1, 1987. 8th, forest rights certificates where applicable. 9th, OBC, SC, ST, or caste certificates issued by competent authorities. 10th, National Register of Citizens documents where applicable, particularly in Assam. 11th, land or house allotment certificates issued by government authorities. And 12th, after Supreme Court intervention, Aadhaar cards, but with a crucial clarification. The Supreme Court made it clear that while Aadhaar may be used to verify identity, it does not constitute proof of citizenship. This distinction is critical and has caused immense confusion among citizens. Now you understand the documents accepted, but here's the real problem on the ground. In Bihar, over 30 million poor citizens stood to lose their voting rights because they couldn't produce these documents. Think about it, not everyone has a passport, which costs money and requires paperwork. Birth certificates weren't systematically issued in many parts of India until recent decades, especially in rural areas. Educational certificates work only if you've attended school. Marginalized communities, daily wage workers, migrant laborers, and women who never attended school or owned property in their names find themselves unable to prove they're Indian citizens, even though they've lived here all their lives and voted in multiple elections. The exercise resulted in deletion of approximately 6.5 million voters in Bihar, mostly women, Dalits, Adivasis, and minorities. Here's another aspect that's created massive controversy. The Election Commission created a distinction between voters enrolled before 2003 and those enrolled after. If your name or your family member's name appears in the 2003 electoral roll, the verification process is simpler. You just need to establish that relationship. However, if you enrolled after 2003, you must produce documentary proof of citizenship from the 12-document list. Critics argue this arbitrary cutoff is unconstitutional. Senior advocate A.M. Singhvi argued before the Supreme Court that mandatory proof of lineage for voters added post-2003 is arbitrary and violative of Article 14 of the Constitution, which guarantees equality before law. Why should someone who has voted in 5 Lok Sabha and 4 Assembly elections after 2002 suddenly need to prove their citizenship? This brings us to the fundamental legal question that's now before the Supreme Court. Can the Election Commission verify citizenship? Petitioners argue that determination of citizenship lies exclusively with the central government under Sections 8 and 9 of the Citizenship Act or with courts and foreigners' tribunals. The Election Commission, they contend, is essentially conducting an indirect national register of citizens without parliamentary approval. The Election Commission disagrees. It argues that under Article 324 of the Constitution, it has supervisory powers over elections. And since Article 326 makes Indian citizenship a constitutional requirement to vote, the Commission must have the power to verify citizenship for electoral purposes. Senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi told the Supreme Court that the ECI has created a parallel mechanism of citizenship determination through the electoral process, effectively putting people on a temporary citizenship list, where the burden of proof is reversed. Beyond legal technicalities, Sir has had serious human consequences. Media reports indicated that hundreds, possibly thousands, of undocumented Bangladeshi migrants living in West Bengal fled to Bangladesh, fearing detection and deportation. More tragically, there have been reports of suicides among people anxious about losing their established Indian citizenship status. Families claimed victims were extremely anxious that the Sir would strip them of their established Indian citizenship. Political rhetoric linking Sir to the National Register of Citizens created widespread fear, particularly among Hindu refugees who had migrated from Bangladesh decades ago but lacked proper documentation. You might wonder why citizenship proof has suddenly become so important. The answer lies in how citizenship functions in modern India. From opening bank accounts to getting a driving license, from accessing government welfare schemes to applying for jobs, from buying property to obtaining passports, virtually every significant transaction requires proof of identity and often, implicitly, citizenship. India recognizes various methods of obtaining citizenship as enshrined in the Citizenship Act of 1955. You can acquire citizenship by birth, descent, registration, naturalization, or incorporation of territory. However, the Act doesn't specify one uniform document that proves citizenship. This ambiguity is what makes the SIR document list so contentious. Interestingly, when a member of parliament asked the Union Home Ministry to specify categories of valid documents needed to prove citizenship in India, the ministry did not provide a specific list, stating only that citizenship is governed under the Citizenship Act, 1955, and rules made thereunder. If the government itself cannot definitively say what proves citizenship, how can the Election Commission create such a list? If you live in one of the states where SIR is currently underway, here's what you need to know. Booth-level officers will visit your home with official identity cards containing QR codes that you can verify through the Election Commission's website. They will provide enumeration forms that you must fill out, sign, and return. The officer will countersign both copies, submit one to the Election Commission, and return an acknowledged copy to you. First, check if your name or a family member's name appears in the 2003 Electoral roll. You can access this at your state's Chief Electoral Officer website. If yes, establishing the family linkage makes the process simpler. If not, be prepared with documents from the 12-document list. Keep photocopies ready even though you don't need to attach them initially with the forms. After submission, watch for the draft electoral roll publication. If your name is missing or if you receive a notice questioning your eligibility, you must respond promptly with supporting documents. Remember, Section 9 of the Aadhaar Act, 2016, explicitly states that Aadhaar cannot act as proof of domicile or citizenship, so having Aadhaar alone may not be sufficient if your eligibility is questioned. The Supreme Court's role and current status. Multiple petitions have been filed in the Supreme Court challenging SIR's constitutional validity. The petitions allege that by requiring electoral registration officers to scrutinize citizenship documents, mark suspected non-citizens, and report them to the Home Department, the Election Commission has acted ultra vires the Constitution and the Citizenship Act. The court has issued several important directions. It ordered mass inclusion rather than mass exclusion. It directed acceptance of Aadhaar as the 12th document. It asked the Election Commission to publish names of approximately 65 lakh voters whose names appear in Bihar's 2025 electoral rolls but are missing from the SIR draft rolls. The case remains ongoing, with the next hearing scheduled for December 4. Major political parties including Congress, Trinamool Congress, CPI, M, Samajwadi Party, DMK, and Rashtriya Janata Dal have opposed SIR, alleging it's being used for political purposes ahead of state elections. They argue the exercise is essentially an NRC by another name, designed to disenfranchise poor and minority voters. The government has agreed to hold a parliamentary debate on SIR during the winter session. Interestingly, some political voices have supported SIR. Senior Congress MP Shashi Tharoor praised both the Election Commission and the government for the initiative, viewing it as necessary to clean up electoral rolls. This shows the issue cuts across simple political lines and involves genuine questions about electoral integrity versus inclusiveness. The special intensive revision of electoral rolls represents perhaps the most comprehensive voter verification exercise India has undertaken in 2 decades. Its stated objective, ensuring accurate electoral rolls free from duplicates, deceased voters, and ineligible entries, is legitimate and necessary for electoral integrity. However, the methods employed, the documentary requirements imposed, and the potential for mass disenfranchisement have raised serious constitutional and humanitarian concerns. For ordinary citizens, SIR highlights a fundamental question: In the absence of a single, universally accepted citizenship document, how do you prove you are Indian? This question becomes especially difficult for the poor, marginalized, and undocumented sections of society who may have lived in India for generations but lack formal paperwork. As this process unfolds across multiple states affecting hundreds of millions of voters, it's crucial that you stay informed, keep your documents ready, respond promptly to any notices, and exercise your democratic rights. Remember, the right to vote is not just about casting a ballot every 5 years. It's about being recognized as a full citizen of this nation. That's all for today's episode of Consumer Times. If you found this information useful, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more citizen awareness content. Leave your questions, experiences, and thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.